Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of 8 Dead Giants! We've been off for a little week and, well, actually, we were off for a really good reason, and my fellow giant today, Rob, was actually at that really good reason as well. We had a lovely wedding to attend, didn't we?
We did. It was an absolutely wonderful day. Two of our best friends got married, which was absolutely wonderful. We had an excellent day.
Yeah, no, it was really special, and like we know they listen to the show and stuff, so they're supporter of the podcast. James and Milena, absolutely wicked party, brilliant wedding. As we're recording, I think their last day on their honeymoon right now, and we're all very jealous of where they went for the honeymoon. But I bet they've had an amazing time, and it was brilliant food, really good party. What an amazing venue! Like it was really special. It was really special.
Was. Absolutely amazing. Wonderful day.
Yeah, and no better reason, really, to not record a podcast than doing something amazing 100%. Like celebrating the love between two of your best mates. So was fab. And Rob, you had a very important role in the wedding, didn't you? With the music,
DJ, which was quite a surprise on the Friday morning, where I get told, "Oh, by the way, you're doing music." But yeah, it went smoothly, which is fine. I was given a phone with playlists, I pushed buttons at the right time, and I didn't screw up their magical day, which was my main focus, because I did not want to do that to them.
Wins all round. Yeah, no, exactly. You did fabulously, sir. You did fabulously. So that's why we were off. Have you been anything else to report? Have you been up to anything else fun? Done anything cool in the last few weeks other than a wedding?
No, nothing exciting, to be honest. Just the wedding has been like the main focus, the main sort of hype event to look forward to. I feel a little bit empty now that it's done. In our friend group and so on, we've been talking about this for months.
Years, really?
Years, yeah.
I think it's years, yeah.
Is it?
I think it was more than a year, wasn't it? So yeah, it feels a little bit weird that that's just happened now. There is no next big thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange sort of emptiness now. It's past. So proposal when, Rob? Just saying. No pressure.
That will happen when it's ready. Definitely not what I was expecting to answer this morning. Thanks for that.
Well, you just were saying we need something to look forward to and start planning for, right? So I thought maybe that would be the time. No? Okay, fair enough. No pressure, mate. Put you on the spot with that.
Good job.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, other than the wedding and stuff, I think it's finally getting back to like normality here at home and catching up with the housework, and I've just spent a lot of time playing video games and watching movies, really, which was what we're going to talk about, I think, around that. That's kind of why we're here almost. So we've got a lot to cover today, so I think without further ado, we'll take our first little break and we'll be coming right back to talk about some game news. Big news. So stay tuned. So, let's talk about game news. So this was crazy over the last couple of weeks. The big news thing happened, and I thought, oh my god, that's crazy big news. And then another big news thing happened, and I was like, that's even bigger news. So let's talk about the biggest thing of gaming for the last 2 weeks, which is this frankly insane situation we're finding ourselves in, where Xbox Game Pass has gone up in price for the second time in just a few months, and this price increase is substantial.
Microsoft clearly just decided we all had too much money in a cost of living crisis and decided, well, let's help everybody out with that.
Actually, in a way, the price increase in the US seems worse because it's a $10 increase for the Ultimate tier. The other two tiers, while they've been renamed, haven't actually gone up in price. So the Ultimate tier, though, in the US has gone from $20 to $30, and in the UK it's gone from $14.99 to $22.99. That's still a big leap. That's nearly £10, but it's not quite £10, so it doesn't feel as bad, but it is still bad.
It's risen by 40 to 50%.
Yeah.
It's sickening.
Yeah. So, all right, let's cover some of the details, and then let's talk a bit about Xbox and talk a bit about the brand and the product offering, because there's been a lot happening over the last few months with Xbox and Microsoft. So let's first of all talk about what they're offering to try and soften the blow on this increase. So they're including the Ubisoft Classics subscription. Now, that's important to mention because it's not Ubisoft Plus, because I actually had a Ubisoft Plus subscription until a few months ago. I had a year. I got it as a really good deal. And that gave you every new Ubisoft game as it came out, their fanciest version on release day, right? So you got like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Deluxe, you got Star Wars Outlaws, Ultimate, the biggest thing at release. Now, Classics doesn't give you that. It gives you the back catalogue titles that Ubisoft have, which is a lot of Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. But basically, they decide when titles join that Classics catalogue. And from what I can tell, it's not very consistent. It's not very quickly added. Now, the reason I wanted to differentiate this is that I've seen quite a lot of reporting and there has been confusion around that. Classics and Plus, it is not Plus, it is the Classics pack. So it is not the new release Ubisoft games that come out, because if they had included that would actually be a pretty good deal. That would actually be a really nice little extra to have, because Ubisoft always put out 2 or 3 big games, which I like a lot, the Ubisoft games, every year. So to get them as part of the subscription would be cool. It doesn't include that. So I wanted to really stress that. The other thing is this Fortnite crew thing, which gives you some V-Bucks, which gives you the Battle Pass, which is great if you play Fortnite. I do not play Fortnite. So
the expression and gesture I just made is not translates well through a podcast, but I would rather do something in my hands and clap than care about Fortnite at this point. That as a perk to me is nothing as a gamer. Like, it genuinely, what's the point? They might as well said that Phil Spencer will try and high-five me from his house. Like, big whoop. I don't care.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then, so there's in-game benefits for Riot Games, which I think was already part of Ultimate's thing. Yep. The unlimited... So what they're doing with cloud gaming is interesting. They've actually boosted the quality of it, right? Because until now, it was only streaming at 1080p. Now, if you're the Ultimate tier of subscription, you're going to get a 1440p or 2K stream for cloud gaming. Now, the cloud gaming has come on a long way since it was originally brought out in beta. It's now gone to full release as well, so it's no longer going to be in beta. And basically, it has become, I think, a really good offering, right? So when you think about the new handhelds that are coming out, the Xbox ROG Ally X's and stuff like that, they're going to be utilizing the cloud streaming for a lot of that catalog. Where that's at now is actually quite impressive, right? So to be fair to Microsoft. But what you're being given here for what is like this huge increase in price, 50%, $10, £8, whatever, however you want to put it, per month. Remember, per month, which equates to not an insignificant amount per year, right? This certainly adds up. It's really hard to justify this. Now, I don't think they've gone, we're going to add new features, we should put the price up. They've gone, we're going to put the price up, we should probably chuck some shit in here to make people less mad.
100%.
Well, it didn't fucking work, Microsoft, because the internet has exploded. I have never seen... I haven't seen this level of vitriol from the gaming community in a while. Like, the backlash against this has been amazingly severe on places like Reddit and X and stuff like that, the social sites of the web. It's just gone crazy.
And their site crashed when they announced this, with people trying to cancel. I know several people who immediately then went to check how much longer they had on their Game Pass and made sure to either alter what tier they were at or make sure it was cancelled or cancel it full stop, including sharing screenshots in WhatsApp group I'm part of. It's making people not want to be part of your brand, and that's just a stupid way to go.
It's crazy choices, isn't it? Because combine this with the increases in prices for the hardware that's happened over the last 2 to 6 months. Again, multiple times the prices of the hardware have gone up, especially in the US. And you could tag that a lot to the tariff situation that they're facing over there. But they have gone up in Europe and the UK as well. To the point, it's crazy to think these consoles are more expensive to buy now than when they first came out. which is just I've never seen that. And that, don't get me wrong, PlayStation done it as well, but it is very, very strange to see this happening, where the value proposition is getting worse as the generation of hardware and of the system has gone on. It's a very strange situation we find ourselves in. Now, there have been some very interesting comments out there, for example, from the FTC chairman in the US, talking about how, these companies, they're obviously around this, but talking in general about large corporations where they're like, when you're so dominant in the ecosystem, your basically attitude is, well, our users, our customers have to suck it up because we can do what we want because we're the only game in town. So if they want to use it, they'll pay it. And there seems to be this arrogance, this greed, and this sort of almost like self-destructive tendency. So that's what I want to talk about, the wider picture of Xbox. Is this Microsoft literally poisoning their own well because they want to get out of the space? What do you think, Rob?
I don't think it's that specific. I don't think they're trying to poison it so they can get out of the game. At the end of the day, Xbox makes tons of money for them. They are the second name after Sony. Being top two is still pretty
well, they're not.
good.
No, they're not. No, they're not, because Nintendo and Sony are dominating game sales, dominating hardware. Microsoft is in distant third place and has been for quite a while. For 2 generations now, they've come third.
True, but I don't think Microsoft could ever compete with Nintendo. They're just not a valid competitor. Yes, they both play video games, but Nintendo is all about portability and community play, which is never something Xbox has been in recent years. Xbox is about home console experiences that can do multiple bits of media. That's what they have been to directly compete with Sony, not compete with Nintendo. I've never viewed them really as a competitor to Nintendo because Nintendo go in their own direction. It's a Japanese company, they have a very different ethos, a very different style, and it works for them because I think they're best at what they do. And Sony and Microsoft just sort of slap fight each other in the corner.
Well, I mean, if there's only 2 players in town and you're always second, i.e. always the loser, you're still the loser. Even if there's
True.
2 in town, and I mean they haven't been on top since the 360 generation, basically, which is a long time now, right? A really long time. We're 5 years into this generation. The previous generation was about 7 or 8 years, so it's 10 to 15 years since they were in the dominant spot in the market. You then combine that with Microsoft's very public sort of sharing of information that their focus is more and more AI. They're putting more and more resources behind AI because they control and have a huge stake in this burgeoning space, that they're redeploying resources, they're cutting staff, they're doing all of that to focus on AI. And that little, you have to remember, go back to the origins of Xbox. It was the direct Xbox, which is where it came from, was this start-up little scrappy group that were almost separate to Microsoft, that kind of clawed and scratched and did this really indie weird thing and brought out this console that then had this huge success. But after the 360, it has never gotten back to that space. I've always felt Microsoft felt a bit uncomfortable in the video game space as a corporate entity, and it seems to be really rearing its head again now. Where
they just shot themselves in the foot at the end of the 360 era.
Well, think about what they did with that console, with the one with the Kinect and what was it, the Xbox One, wasn't it?
It was the Xbox One where they said, you don't own your games anymore, you pay for a license, you can't lend them to a mate. They might as well have just shot themselves twice in the foot.
Don't forget there was the big pivot into multimedia space and how we're going to all be about TV now. We're going to have Microsoft TV studios and all of this.
That was their problem.
Yeah, they killed themselves. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
If they just doubled down and done good performance on a home console, they'd have been fine.
But the weird thing, what you just mentioned, the always online, digital only products you can't trade, right? They were ahead of their time. That's where the market is now, right? And that's where Game Pass has been a huge success, because you're paying for a monthly subscription, you own nothing, you're renting these games for intents and purposes, and it's been brilliant. People have really bought into it at that price point, but now they're like that subscription price is now the cost benefit analysis. It is too high.
But
it's like nobody wants to pay
that. You don't lead with the "you own nothing" line. You lead with the "you're getting X hundred games for a small monthly cost."
For convenience.
I don't think anybody in marketing took a single look at the Xbox One release and went, "Yeah, that's a good idea." Anyway, I could moan about that for hours. They just got no justification charging what they have for this. Just full stop.
Well, I think it's really interesting what you just hit on there, that they led with this this bullish, unconsumer friendly approach back at the beginning of the Xbox One generation. What are they doing right now? There's this corporate arrogance to Microsoft, right? To the point where we'll talk about it later, I watched the Tron movies recently, right? And one of the Tron is all about Encom, and there's this bit in Tron Legacy at the beginning where Encom is very much this: we're so big, we're arrogant about it, we can do what we want, we'll just charge and put a number. They're literally, that was like 15 years ago, and that was them pointing a finger at Microsoft and taking the piss out of them. That was then. This is still the same company that they were then. They are still incredibly arrogant and incredibly we're the only game in town. And that's what this feels like to me, that they know they've got the claws in people, and that these people like this service. They'll just pay what we tell them to pay. They'll find a way like that. Sony aren't immune to that. Remember when they said, how are you going to afford to buy a PS5 when that originally price was put out there? And I forget who was in charge saying, well, if you want it bad enough, you'll get a second job. That was the comment that came out from Sony at the time. You're going to want this, you'll find a way to pay for it. And there's an arrogance that you overstep, and you can't get away with it, right? The internet has lost its mind over this. Like you said, the cancellations are rife on this service, and they will be looking at that. So what happens next? What do you think happens next?
I think that the Ultimate tier will gently be shadowed out and gently sunset. More things will come to the Premium and Ultimate tier over the next 2 years as they start seeing the graph do that, bottoming out and then staying there. But I've made sure that I stay on Premium. I'm not going to Ultimate. I refuse. Oh no, I lose day one access to games that I probably wouldn't play day one anyway. Oh no. If my money means I have to wait to play a day one title, then I have to wait. I would rather have the extra £12 in my account to be able to do what I want with, to have a takeaway or something like that. It's over time it will get reduced and there won't be a difference, and then in a couple of years they'll do another revamp of this at the next generation launch, and this entire system will change, and they'll either shred the Premium tier completely and just have Essential and Ultimate, or they will shred the Ultimate tier and go back to the way it was quietly, like it was their idea and like that was the best thing to do.
Actually interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way. That's interesting. I didn't know you were on Premium, or you're going to Premium.
I was on Ultimate, but I'm sticking in the mid tier. I refuse to give them the extra money. I don't gain enough value from it.
So before I tell you what I've done, I'll tell you what I've done, and then I'll tell you what I think they might do. So what I've done is I've gone online and I've bought multiple 3-month Ultimate subscription cards for basically the price of Premium, and that way I'm not going to pay the increased price hike. So I've done that for 6 months. So what I think will happen, so there's some interesting stuff here, because I think Game Pass isn't recouping enough of the costs for them right now when it comes to things like their Activision buyout, where they've lost a lot of money by the amount of people that played Call of Duty and didn't have to buy it, right? So they've looked at those numbers and they've gone, that doesn't work. We are not got enough subs at that price point to make up the cost or the lack of profit that's dropped off year on year compared to when everybody had to buy Call of Duty. I think a lot of this is Call of Duty maths where they're looking at this. It's really interesting that when they were talking to the regulatory body in the UK, when they were doing their Activision buyout, and they promised the UK regulatory body, because they were, if you remember, they were the one that blocked it. Do you remember? They were the only one to block it.
Yeah.
And if they couldn't get the UK, they wouldn't have been able to do it. And they said to them, we will not put up Game Pass subscription costs because of this buyout. That was guaranteed at that point. I think they might have a legal challenge in their future over these price increases. And I think, considering the backlash, I think they're going to walk these prices back. Now, I don't think they'll necessarily walk them back all the way, but I do think they're going to drop, it will go down to $5 increase or something like that. I don't think they can stomach this. Now, if you remember rightly as well, a few months ago, they said Outer Worlds 2 is going to be our first $80 game. The internet exploded. Sorry about that, guys. It will be $70. They walked it back, right? So I don't think they're completely impossible listening to feedback. They have done it before. They've shown it before, like what Xbox One generation when you talked about the digital. Yeah. They walked it back, right? They walked it back. So I think they'd be absolutely insane not to listen. If they don't listen, I think it proves that this is them intentionally killing their product. I think the current leadership are looking at Game Pass now and going, this was a mistake. This is not sustainable. We need people to buy games again at full price. So what we're doing is we're going to make this proposition not, worth it for most people. People will drop it. People will go back to buying games. We'll make our money back on our Call of Duty purchase, right? And that's could be what they're looking at doing. And their next generation, no more Game Pass.
I think there's a real easy solution to that. And that's stop putting things on day one release on fucking Game Pass.
I think the problem there is that that's one of the biggest selling points. That's the whole reason. So what your logic behind your argument, which I thought was really interesting, is like you get rid of Ultimate and that promise of day one, and you kind of halve the offering, and that's how you can get it back to that more affordable price point. Basically, turning it back into Xbox Live Gold with a few perks. And I think that's an interesting idea. That might be that's kind of we're saying the same thing, right? That this offering doesn't seem to be sustainable for them anymore.
No, I think they're going to add more things to Premium Ultimate to like tool them up at the same time to slowly get around the upgrade costs.
There's a really weird bullet point at the bottom of this Ultimate, right? And it says play and earn up to $100 a year in the store with rewards. Now, I've been a user of Microsoft Rewards since day one. I've made back quite a lot of money in Microsoft Rewards, probably paid for the equivalent of an Xbox at this point, right? Hundreds of pounds worth of rewards. Depending on how much you engage with it, you can make quite a lot back by doing that. And it's things like play a game every day for 15 minutes. You get so many 100 points every week and stuff like that. And it does add up. It does add up. I do feel like the offering has actually gotten worse. It's harder to make these points than it used to be. At one point, a few years ago, they did this thing where they would match the amount of achievement points you made in reward points over a month. So if you made 10,000 achievements points, you got 10,000 reward points. And they only ever did that like once or twice, but I engaged with that one time. And then I went on a PC Game Pass and I found all the hacks and the trainers to give myself achievements, basically, without having to play the games. And I made back good like 30 quid. 40 quid, something like that, right, in reward points by just gaming the system. Clearly that's why they never did it again, because that's what everyone did. But it was like they've not done anything as aggressive or as exciting as in terms of engagement as that in a long time. And because it's not cost effective anymore, right? That's the market they're in. They're in a really competitive space now. The tariffs are kicking their butts in the US. Trump is making it very difficult for them. So I do understand the cold, hard maths behind the business decisions, but at the same time, this is anti-consumer. This is anti-gamer. This goes against the Xbox's kind of indie rebellious sort of side. That was what engaged with me back in day one when I bought that console in March of that year it came out in launch, and I was one of the first adopters in the UK to have an Xbox, right? And ran Xbox websites, and I'll always have a fondness for the brand. But man, oh man, is it becoming harder every single day to stay with these guys, because they're destroying it. Like, they're just destroying all the goodwill, all of the historic awesomeness that was associated with Xbox. Halo isn't what it once was. They've destroyed the Forza team, doesn't exist anymore. Like, there's so many of the pillars and the cornerstones of Xbox have just been gutted and torn apart. I do think they kind of want out, right? They want an Xbox to be on every, handheld and phone and PC, because they don't want to be in the market anymore. They don't want to be selling hardware anymore. At this point, they promised the next generation of hardware a few years ago. I'm really doubt we see a new Xbox in the next few years. I really doubt that. And I think it will be more like, here's a PC that will be really good, to play Xbox on. But the hardware is going to stop. And they'll do a Sega, and they're going to get out of it.
Potentially. I don't know. It's a real tough one to call. I don't know that they want to get out of it completely because it must earn them money, or they would have stopped years ago. Like, no company just greenlights money into a black hole that never makes any level of return.
So,
I know Game Pass is a questionable one on that one, but...
So, famously, Microsoft and Sony always sold their hardware at a loss because they knew they'd recoup the cost in software sales, right? The idea being you sell the console at a loss, gets it in people's homes, they then buy their 3, 4, 5 games a year, and that brings, at the lowest level, and that brings us into profitability. Well, they don't buy games anymore. So we've therefore had to push up our hardware prices to try and put them into a profitable space, which means less people are buying the hardware, which means less people are subscribing to Game Pass, which means less people are buying games. So it's this really tough space in the corporate world, I'm sure, where, 10% profit isn't enough. You have to be doing 30% profit all the time, and, year on year. And it's an incredible, you know how it is, Rob, right? You work in a corporate world just as much as I do. And I don't think it's doing what they needed to do. And they're interested in AI. They're not interested in Xbox anymore, right? Their whole company shift is into this AI world. You've heard the stories about Satya Nadella, yeah? You know what he does with AI, the guy in charge of Microsoft. So he runs around in his workday with 3 dedicated AI tools that assist him in making all the decisions he does on a daily basis. This isn't a rumor. He's very proud of this. There are news stories about this. You should look it up. But basically, he makes no decisions without AI supporting every call he makes. This is one of the most powerful men in tech and in business in the world, making decisions that a computer, that an algorithm, that a large language model tells him to make.
But every large language model is flawed.
Yes.
And I know humanity is flawed, and I know brains are flawed, and we can all make wrong decisions. We've both, I'm sure, made dozens of poor decisions in our lifetimes. But it happens. It's part of being human, is making the wrong choice, turning right instead of left at times. It just is a thing that we do. This now gets me onto a little soapbox I've got, which I really start to dislike AI. The more and more we fold it into every single mother fudging thing we do is starting to piss me off. We're losing the ability to talk to people. We're losing the ability to write because, let's just shove it through ChatGPT. No! Fucking learn! Do it yourself. Engage your brain and put in some effort. Don't make a computer do it for you. We're turning into the film WALL-E, for God's sake.
Yeah,
as you may be able to tell, this stuff pisses me off.
But also, right, imagine I'm Satya Nadella and I'm sat there with my 3 AI assistants. Hey, AI guys. I hope he calls them that. That would be good. Hey, AI guys, I was thinking, right, Xbox is struggling a bit right now. Should we kill Xbox and put all the money into AI? He's asking the AI guys. And the AI guys, oh, no, you're right, mate. Yeah, I think right now Xbox is a bad idea. You should definitely put more money into us. I mean, AI. Yeah, you should definitely do that, Satya. Yeah. Good idea. So it's like, it was lampooned in South Park, wasn't it, right? When every idea Randy came up with, it was just, yeah, that's a really cool idea, Randy. What a good idea. You should totally do that. Hey, that's really original. That's really creative. Always like giving him that positive affirmation around absolute bullshit, right? Because it's so, like you just said, it's so flawed. It doesn't have critical thinking, does it? Right? It just compares information. And it's going to always try and tell you're making the right idea because it's a user experience, right? It's not talking to a knowledgeable advisor that will actually give you unvarnished truth. It's not what it does. So yeah, it's like you said, it's inherently flawed. It's like losing that critical thinking part of being human. Because it's not AI. This is the problem. We've called it that for so long, right? It's been marketed that for so long. AI implies intelligence, artificial intelligence. It is not intelligent. It is an algorithm. It is a large language model, etc. So we've convinced ourselves that it is intelligent when it isn't. It's marketing at play, right? It's not reality. And, people just seem to be losing sight of that. like, because of the power of marketing. It's like, for God's sake. Anyway,
so
Microsoft is fucked.
Lastly, on this topic, I've whilst we've been on the podcast, I literally have just put in Xbox is struggling right now. What should I do to increase profit margins into ChatGPT?
Oh God!
Just out of curiosity. What to do? Margin improvement levers. Lever number 1, shift more fully towards services and digital. Keep pushing Game Pass, especially with unique content or benefits that make switching firm, i.e. stickiness. What have we got? Exactly that. Increase digital sales of games, add-ons, in-game purchases, MTXs and cosmetic content, which broadly this will do because people won't want to pay for the higher tier, so they will pay for stuff in the mid-tier. Raise prices, adjust subscription tiers.
This is freaky, man. See what I mean? He asked them what to do, and this is what they told him. And as the last point, fire people. Right, because whenever companies need to improve profit margins, it's always fire people.
No, the last point actually, the lever on ChatGPT is more terrifying to me.
Oh, God.
Expand into adjacent revenue streams, advertising within ecosystem. Game Pass with ads.
I think that's coming.
Every 40 minutes to an hour, have an ad in your game.
Well, if you're streaming on xCloud, right? I can imagine this on one of the lower tiers every hour. Hey, have you been to Domino's recently? Because their pizza's really good. Like,
Nothing
come on.
would make me cancel every subscription to Microsoft I have faster.
It's so coming. It's so coming. Advertising is so coming more and more into Xbox. Yeah, I mean, okay, so that's terrifying. That you've called out like 2/3 to 3/4 of what they've done already, and the rest seem very likely. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
This is what happens when we make large language models make our choices for us. They make fundamentally logical decisions which are stupid. Use your brains, people. Stop relying on ChatGPT for stuff.
Should we move on to the next happy sunshine story?
Oh, go on.
So this was, I alluded to this at the beginning, which was, this news landed and I was like, man, that's massive. And then it got eclipsed by Game Pass and nobody's talking about it. But EA has been, is going to be purchased in a private leveraged buyout for $55 billion by the Saudi Arabia's investment fund. And also just to put the chair on the case, Jared Kushner's huge financial company, which is mostly backed by Saudi Arabian money.
The man with the charisma of a plank of wood.
The man who is the son-in-law for the President of the United States, and therefore there is no way in hell this is going to get stopped by anything and will 100% go through without any problems. So I couldn't believe this, guys. If you're listening to the podcast and you don't know why the Saudi Arabian investment fund, who have got their fingers in a lot of pies, especially in the video game space, they own shares and percentages in pretty much every major company that you can kind of look at in the US space, like Ubisoft, they've got a part in, there's loads of this money around, right? Because they bait that, and they're quite clear about what they want to do, which is to have a cultural impact in the West. They want to have influence and affect the thinking of gamers, right? And young people coming up in the West, because they want to make themselves seem as palatable and as pleasant and as friendly to business and growth as possible. Obviously, another big player in that space is WWE. They're heavily involved with that. They get the WWE going out to do live events over there all the time. But do you want to tell people why Saudi Arabia is bad, Rob? Why don't you do that?
Do we have the time for that?
I mean, you could. We could do bullet points. No free press, assassination of journalists, human rights violations, the way they treat women, that kept us second-class citizens.
They're not very friendly to the LGBTQ plus community. They're just
they are
a
not
touch hostile. Just a teeny bit.
Tiny bit hostile towards the homosexuals and the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, like you just said. So basically, an entire 100% control of EA. Is terrifying, and I do think it's interesting. A lot of the places I've read this article at doesn't talk about the leveraged buyout. Are you aware of the leveraged buyout? The implication of the leveraged buyout,
No.
Rob? So this is interesting, right? So it's a $55 billion deal. $20 billion of that has been loaned to them by a bank. I'm trying to remember, JP Morgan, someone like a big investment bank, right? 20 billion has been loaned to them to do that. That 20 billion of debt will sit on EA's books. So EA has to pay off that $20 billion, and if they don't, EA will disappear. Simply put, it's a leveraged buyout. Would you like me to give you an example of a leveraged buyout that's happened before? Yeah. By the way, this is the largest leveraged buyout to ever happen. Right? Okay, so this is the largest ever. I might mention one that you might think, oh, I remember that company. Toys R Us was purchased as a leveraged buyout. That did not go well for Toys R Us. Toys R Us went away, disappeared.
It's
because,
back now.
Yes, it has come back a little bit. It is sort of kind of making a resurgence, but basically, they weren't able to pay the debt, and they went away because of that. They got folded, they got closed because they couldn't pay their debt. Simple as that. So, EA has to now be profitable enough to pay off $20 billion in debt, in addition to making enough money to do things like pay their staff and have their own profit margins, right? And grow. How do we think they're going to do that? How do you think they're going to be profitable?
Microtransactions.
Nope.
Season passes.
Nope. They're going to fire everyone and use AI, which is what they've said. They are going to make cuts and streamline resources and use AI to maximize profit and to do all the good stuff.
Okay, right? Well, I just won't play an EA game again.
Well, that's all right, because there probably won't be any. Because can you imagine a Mass Effect with its LGBTQ plus representation coming out from EA now that it's owned by Saudi Arabia? Because I can't.
Nope.
Right? Can we imagine a Sims? Can we imagine anything from that kind of, that portfolio? Because the Sims, again, has a very, 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 very pro stance on same-sex relationships and adoption and all that non-standard family units. That's going to go away. That's not coming out. There's going to be no more of that from
There'll
Maxis.
be no more of that, but I think The Sims is going to be one of the tools they use. The Sims is one of possibly the most monetized game I've ever come across.
Yes,
because
there is,
every year there are about 30 different expansion packs that all require money to be paid to access it. I think it's probably got more DLC than anything else in the world. So they're just going to turn that crank up to 11 when it was at 10.5 before. The same with Apex Legends. They will do that as well because there's monetization in that. So that's where they're going to pull it from. Single player games like Mass Effect, gone. Dusted, like Thanos just came and snapped his finger.
Yeah, but I don't think Mass Effect's disappearing because of that. I think Mass Effect's disappearing because of
they don't
its
have a competent
characterization.
writing to rub together against each other. Yeah.
Oh, burn! Did you play Veilguard? It's on EA Play now. If you
with how quickly the price for that has plummeted, something tells me it did not go particularly well.
I completed it. I thought it was good. I liked it. I mean, I didn't think it was as good as some other stuff, but I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was perfectly enjoyable, like combat, story, visuals. Yeah, I quite liked it. I didn't have a big issue with it like some people did, but
I've not played it straight up, so all of this is secondhand and my kind of cannibalized opinion from sources, but it didn't do breakout things like Mass Effect did as a franchise.
It's
going to struggle.
I mean, they're still saying Mass Effect is in quite early development. They've only just started scaling up the team on it. So that would still be a good few years off anyway.
So super easy to cut beforehand then.
Yep, I would say so. Very easy to get rid of, just say that's not going to come out. I just
Mass Effect game that actually releases, I will be astounded. There are so many stories of games that get stuck in development hell and never actually get released, despite being announced.
Have you heard of the term sports washing?
No.
So this is where questionable regimes will use the popularity and the kind of reach of a, say, large sporting event in their country to make the country look, or the regime look, beneficial and positive and raise people's awareness. So, questionable places will bid for the World Cup, the different types of championships and, the Olympics. Saudi Arabia has done a lot of this. Now, Saudi Arabia has obviously gone, oh, works for sports washing. Let's try it with other things, right? This cultural impact element. So that's why they're so hard into video games. WWE, they recently had a big sort of like comedy showcase there where they got all these Western comedians like Dave Chappelle and stuff to go out to Saudi Arabia to do like this stand up. And that obviously, there's been a lot of pushback against that. People are questioning why people would do this. And I think it's interesting because in a Trump world, where Trump seems to not really care about women, morality, anything to do with ethics. He is basically saying, let's turn the clock back as far back as it will go. And therefore, it kind of makes the whole Saudi Arabia thing seem a lot less questionable because his attitude is a lot more questionable. And therefore, these people are feeling more and more emboldened culturally and inside of their nations to go, oh, well, this is the way the wind's blowing now. I'll go and do a gig in Saudi Arabia and get paid really, really well for it because honestly, I'm not going to get, any kind of pushback that matters. Yeah, there'll be some crazy leftists on the internet having a go, but when it comes to my next comedy special on Netflix or my next big game release, people will still buy it. People will still engage with it because that's the way the wind's blowing. And that's just fucking tragic. Isn't that the most like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is going on with this, like, the world right now where we go, yeah, that's fine. EA's been bought by Saudi Arabia. That's fine. No big deal. Oh, all the women now, there won't be any shots of them in bikinis when they're doing the beach level for The Sims because they can't show their skin based on the Saudi Arabian law. So they'll all be in full covered up situations when they go swimming. Yeah, well, whatever. It's still a fun game. And nobody's going to even bat an eyelid to the cutting of the gay characters, the cutting of the non-binary characters, the cutting of this, the cutting of that, because it'll be like, well, you know what, it still plays well. And that's what people will kind of convince themselves is okay. And it will become the new normal. And it's freaking terrifying, Rob, that we're watching this cultural backslide in the West because of the dominance of certain leaders in the US and in Europe. And potentially come the next election could even happen here, right? So it's really depressing.
See,
so depressing.
I have one remaining vain hope here with the EA takeover, is that whilst I may not have had a very high opinion of Velgard, I know that everyone who worked on it and the big sort of ideas people, say the half dozen people who had the plan and had the rolling story and then built the team, built the game round that, they will still want to continue said story. Or if we live in a world, for example, now that Mass Effect 4 gets canned, the people who have that idea will still want that story. And I think we may see a resurgence of Splinter Studios and the games shifting away from monopolized corporations like EA and Activision, and small mid-studios essentially fall off. We don't have BioWare anymore, who are making Mass Effect games, but we have, Space Y Gaming, yes, or something, as a studio. I don't know, I was making it up to not have it sound like Mass Effect or SpaceX. But, we have a game a game studio that turns around and goes, okay, yeah, we used to make those, but our entire senior staff were the people who made Mass Effect 3 and collaborated with Andromeda and Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 1. So yeah, look out for a new sci-fi opera coming soon. And
so yeah, that exists already. So there's a game called Exodus coming up, which I think I've mentioned to you before, which basically looks like a new Mass Effect. And then there's the Expanse video game, which is also coming, which also got lots of like Mass Effectiness to it. So yeah, I mean, and I think there are people from ex-BioWare working on Exodus, I'm pretty sure, for example. So that's the nature of the industry. You see that, don't you? You see the rise of developers, and then they crash, and then they break up, and then these guys go over there, and those guys go over there, and they make new teams that get new funding, and they do their own things, right? So yeah, I do think kind of BioWare, the nail in the coffin for BioWare was actually Anthem, right? You're going way back, and it's never been the same since. And before that was Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, which was the lesser sequel. So let's not forget they've already tried to do more Mass Effect, and it wasn't good. And then, Veilguard, which I thought was a return to some of the form, but I think people had issue with the very wokeness of some of the characters and the writing, and I really didn't. I thought it was quite fun and enjoyable. I had no issues with it. I really didn't. It wasn't a 5 out of 5, but it was still pretty good.
If Veilguard is allowed on my Game Pass tier, thanks to the overlords at Microsoft, I may be deigned to be allowed to play it at some point.
I've closed the window now, but I have a feeling the EA Play stuff is only in the Ultimate tier.
Oh, shock! My God, what a surprise! I shall have to beg at the knees of Microsoft.
I think you'll get. I think you can get it on sale for like £10 anyway, right?
Oh yeah, I saw it in CEX the other day for like £7.50.
There you go.
So maybe it's time to have a return to buying games.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we've been talking about, bro. Okay, so that's the end of news. We've been talking an hour about this fantastic, wonderful news that we've had the last couple of weeks. I hope you guys are still with us. That was pretty heavy stuff. If you have any thoughts, comments, your own ideas around Game Pass or this amazing Saudi Arabia-led buyout of EA, please leave us a comment. Please get on X and Twitter. Hey, and we'll do the plug now in the middle of the show, right? You can find us on 8deadgiants.com, all of our links to all of our socials. While you're there, subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star review. It really, really helps get the awareness up on the show so we can continue to do this amazing podcast for you guys and maybe do other things in the future. Who knows? I have some ideas. But with that, let's move on to talk about some games we've actually been playing, because I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I hadn't played as much as I have now, but I'm very, very excited to get Rob's take on one of his new installments of his favorite franchise, or one of them anyway, Borderlands 4, Rob.
It's rapidly shooting to be top of that list, to be honest, considering the state of the other one, which I shan't mention. Borderlands 4 is brilliant. We've had some performance issues, we've had some bugs, we've had some things underperforming in the game and so on, which has been good, but I just want to talk about Gearbox's attitude to all of that, where their first... I love that this is their first balance patch, their big balance patch was, well, yeah, we're buffing shit, guys. There wasn't any of this whole, well, no, we need to bring the overpowered stuff back into the level we want. It was like, no, this guy's underperforming. Let's buff him to shit. And it's such a refreshing take. The game is great. The world is fantastic. The guns are good. I'm enjoying the Ripper Queen third a little less than the other two that I've done so far, but maybe it'll grow on me in time. But yeah, I've still not completed the campaign. I've not had a colossal amount of time to be able to play. But yeah, I'm loving it. I want to play more and more and more of it. I'm looking forward to getting to the end game. I'm looking forward to bringing the full cast of characters up to level 50. And when we get the 5th Vault Hunter soon-ish, which is all about luck and chance, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that Vault Hunter does look quite cool. Cash, he's like a robot gambling bounty hunter type vibe, and I was like, oh, that's very Ben. I'm very into that. So yeah, where am I up to? Level 40, finished campaign, Ultimate Vault Hunter mode engaged, just grinding to that 50 cap now for my Vex. They did stealth nerf my bleed build though, and bleed no longer doesn't require me just one single shot critical and watch them die. I actually have to play the game, and I'm very sad about that.
No, you have to actually do something.
Do you know what that's done? That's inspired me to respec my Vex to actually try different things, and I'm trying it with the kind of cat companion build now. Yeah, I got a really nice class mod, which was like all about the trouble skill tree, and I was like, I got a legendary class mod, so I was like, you know what, I'll build around that and see what that's like, because I'm just leveling to 50 now. I it's just sort of, I'm doing the vile bounties and stuff like that to push my levels up, because those are the most efficient way to grind those. It's good fun. Talk about the guns. The legendaries are really fun, but I actually found the variety in the regular gun drops a bit boring after a while. Like, there wasn't actually a huge amount of variety in how guns felt to me until I started getting those unique kind of mechanics that come with, the named weirdness against the orange drops. The actual other guns, like a Jacobs always just felt like a Jacobs. Theodore always felt like the Theodore. They didn't, even though they were kind of mix and matching the parts as well, it still didn't encourage me. I'd like stick with a gun I liked for like 5 or 6 levels, just because what would pop up wouldn't really add anything new often. So I got a bit bored with the guns.
No, I'm continually cycling stuff. Continually. I rarely hold a gun for more than 40 minutes before I'm then upgrading it, because there's no point hanging on to anything until you're level 50.
Yeah, I mean,
is replaceable.
I've had a lot of oranges, but then I've been maxing out on the golden keys situation because I've been getting them and using them every few levels, basically every 5 levels. I'll go and cash in 2 or 3 golden keys just to see what might change my build up, right?
Yeah.
And that's kept it fresh because I'll usually out of a golden chest you get at least 1 orange, not always, but pretty often. Okay. Get the oranges, especially as I'm in Vault Hunter mode now. I'm in Vault Hunter mode. It seems to be obviously the drops are better and that kind of thing, so they're weighted to help your progress, I think. But it's not the hardest of games. Like I've mostly killed bosses on first attempts. And things like that, but it is an enjoyable. I'll be watching something else or listening to a podcast. I finished the story, Rob, but I'm not sure I could even spoil it for you because none of that went in. None of it.
I've seen some spoilers about what happens at the end, and I want to get there and see it with Lilith and stuff.
I know what you mean, but at the same time, it doesn't mean anything. It's just another kind of hook for more. And it's like, okay, well, cool. There'll be a Borderlands 5, I guess.
This will have made money hand over fist, despite Randy Pitchford being just the most delightful of people.
He's so dumb.
Oh,
I don't think he's a bad person. I think he's just really stupid. He has no filter.
I think he's good for enthusiasm. He's good for hyping the game up, and he's good to fundamentally run Gearbox because he is doing a reasonably good job of that, but he should never be put in front of the public or given social media access ever. As soon as he talks to someone outside of Gearbox, that's when the problems start. So just shush him, put him in a corner, keep him in his office, and let him talk to all the people inside, and have other people who are more qualified and better talk to people on X and talk to people on Reddit or wherever, because that's just better.
So Randy, I'm pretty sure at some point in the past was a developer. Yeah? He actually... I
think so.
Yeah. You wouldn't know it. Because he says things that make him sound like a corporate moron. Like, oh, we've got performance issues with the game. And he'll say things like, no, the game's fine. Just run it at a lower resolution and drop your settings down. It's not my fault you're running it on a potato. And it's like, no. We know this. We're PC gamer. We know how to make it. It should be better, even on my potato. And it's like, no. It's not my fault. Your rig is shit. Sort your rig out. And it's like, dude, stop it. Stop speaking. Just stop speaking.
This is where, fundamentally, he may be completely correct. He may be 110% right. But you don't fucking say it. You don't make that statement public. You go, oh, thank you for the information. We'll make sure to get someone to look into these performance issues. Thanks. That's what you do. It's such an easy win instead of, well, get better kit. It's like the Diablo thing of, you all have phones, right? Get a better graphics card. That's essentially the line he's taking. It's just so avoidable. Just don't be a knob.
One of the things they patched in really quick was the FOV slider. And now I don't normally mess around with FOVs, but wow, does that have a positive impact on your console experience by being able to widen the FOV? I put it up to about 95 and without any kind of performance impact, and it is so much nicer to be able to see a little bit more about what's going on around you. I didn't think I literally hardly ever adjust that stuff, but this had a really positive impact on the gameplay. I felt much more in control of crowds and had that spatial awareness of when I was being in boss fights and the ads are coming at me and stuff as well. And I was like, oh, that's, and it didn't make it look weird. There wasn't a fisheye situation or anything like that. It just enough to make it a bit more manageable. So if you haven't tried that, I do recommend it.
I'll have to give that a go.
And the patch does seem to make things feel more stable. Performance mode is better than it was. Quality modes, to be honest, I got used to quality mode with 30 FPS, so I've just stuck to that. And it's been fine. I mean, it feels actually well optimized to that mode. I know I talked about that in my previous recording where I was like, I had to drop that because of the performance being so choppy. But it's, I think that's already been improved and stuff like that. And the attitude of buff, not nerf, loved that. That's really cool. That's really the right way to go forwards with it. We did have some real bad performance problems when we played in co-op, so it'd be interesting to try it again now after the patches to see if it wasn't a single digit frame rate like it was when I was playing with you. That was so bad.
We still need to organise some time to do some co-op with our other friends as well. Although one of them is currently on his way back from his honeymoon, so priorities.
Yeah, and now that I'm nearly max level on my Vex and I finished the story, I would be more than happy to re-roll if we all wanted to start from level 1 with new characters. I think that would be a fun way to play it. And players like go for 4 different characters and do it that way. That would be really fun to see how the synergies work, especially on hard mode when you're playing with the elementals a bit more and things like that. That would be cool.
Did you upgrade to hard mode in the end?
Yeah, I did. It didn't make a huge impact. My biggest advice is, as you push through what you're doing now, Rob, is finish the story. Do not do side missions because of the way the specialization points work. Mm-hmm. So if you get to 50 before finishing the story, it won't like bank those points. So you want to finish the story before 50 so that any extra you do on that character gives you the specialization points, so that because they actually have they're cumulative, so you get like gun damage bonuses, you get like health bonuses, and if it just makes you more powerful. So you might as well do that way around rather than only doing that after story finish at 50.
There's a big concern with the specialization points at the moment in the community because they're very akin to things like badass ranks and stuff like that we've had before. And with those previously in other games, they've always been account wide, and in this case, they are character specific.
I could have sworn they were meant to be account wide, though. No, I could have sworn I read that they were meant to be account wide.
Quite the opposite. They made the conscious decision to make them character specific to not devalue the grind on other characters.
Oh, okay.
Which is something one of the devs, I think the head developer on the game turned around and put this in like an X thread where it's like, no, we made this decision very specifically to make this because we wanted to respect our players' time the most. If you're grinding through, you're getting suitable reward for the grind on the character. Clearly we need to reevaluate time versus reward. So I'm interpreting that means they are going to go account wide potentially in the future, which I think is a good move. There's going to be lots of balance patches. We know that some things are going to get nerfed and brought back into control a little bit, like the Jacob's critical knives, for example. They are too strong. Your bleed ability was too strong.
No, it's lovely. I loved it.
They don't want you deleting bosses in 2 seconds, which is what was happening. The health bar would go from full to empty, like that. So I still, to be clear, I'm still doing that. Right, I've got this assault rifle with a secondary fire mode, which is like turns it into a minigun, which fires 100 shots without having to reload, and it fires the torque sticky bombs. So I line that up on a critical headshot, fire 100 of those sticky bombs onto the boss's head. They detonate. Each one is more damaging than the previous one. It melts them, like they just disappear after one go at that. So, and that's on Ultimate Vault Hunter 1. So that's what I'm playing. Hearing is that you're quite painful to play co-op with because there won't be any bosses to kill.
I just kill everything with that thing. It's great, and that's like 4 or 5 levels below my current level as well, and it still rips through enemies at like a crazy rate. But it's a really good gun. I couldn't tell you what it's called, but it's an orange. I can't remember what it was called. Okay. But it's not one of the ones I've seen talked about online a lot. But I got it with these stickies, and I was like, oh, this is going to do damage, and it does do damage.
I was playing before we started recording today, and I just did a side quest for Zane where I got a choice of legendary guns on a vending machine, and I got the Hellwalker.
That's a fun. Oh, you got the Hellwalker out of that.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was one of the options, and I chose the Hellwalker. I remember playing with it in Borderlands 3, and that thing carried me for about 10 levels. So
that's a fun quest, isn't it? I've done that side quest. That was a fun side quest. Very silly, but very good fun. Yeah. So
yeah. It's good fun. Yeah. I'm excited to play more.
We need to do some more co-op. We need to go back and see how that's running now, and I'm up for some more as well. Yeah, definitely. Maybe later today. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if you're busy
potentially.
Or not. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of gaming. We've spent an hour on gaming chat there, and sadly it was mostly terrible awfulness, but hopefully things always hopeful for the maybe things get better, Rob, maybe one day.
They can't exactly get a huge amount worse, can they?
I mean, you should not have said that. I'm scared now. Okay, right. We're back in a minute with a little themed segment. Because it's the time of year, the spooky time of year.
But how are we doing pumpkin spice in a podcast?
It's the spooky season as Halloween is nearly upon us.
Hi, how you doing?
I am Count Benjamin, and I'm bringing you the horrors.
Game Pass news.
Yes, we're going to do another hour on sad gaming news. No, we're not. We're not going to do another hour on that. We're going to talk about... when I was putting this together, I realised we kind of had a bunch of things that you could consider spooky horror things to talk about. And I was like, hey, let's put these together as a little Halloween section. Let's start, I think, with the one I know we both watched, which was Marvel Zombies.
It was interesting enough. It was fine.
Honestly, it was, to me, it was so much better than what I was expecting it was going to be. Like, yeah. I thought it would have been absolute trash. And they actually went for stuff. They actually had kind of an interesting concept, an interesting story, and they executed it really well. And it ends on a pretty cool cliffhanger, which leaves it open for more. And I was like, do you know what? And it was only 4 episodes. It didn't hang around. And I was like, you know what? That was cool. I was also impressed. Go on.
Big hit voice characters in that. Elizabeth Olsen was voicing Scarlet Witch. Yeah. Florence Pugh was voicing Yelena. Yeah. Like I can't remember the actress's name for Miss Marvel was voicing Miss Marvel.
Well, I think we need. Let me look up her name because I always forget her name as well. Because I do want to. So Iman Vellani, and I do want to give shouts out to Iman Vellani because she's basically the main character of this show, and she ends up having to kind of hold it all together and give like the most lines and the biggest performance. And for all intents and purposes, from what I've heard, she's meant to be lovely, a big nerd, really into Marvel stuff, like comic book fan herself. And I was really impressed because voice acting for an animation is not the same kind of challenge as live action. It's very different. You often have to give a bit more, and she obviously is the human center of the storyline that links all the characters together, and she did a really good job. And I wanted to give I think she deserves a bit of a shout out and props for that. I also think it was interesting how they didn't use a voice actor for Black Panther. He didn't speak in that bit with Black Panther because of respect to Chadwick Boseman. But then even when they had characters like, Captain America was in there who didn't speak as a zombie. Thor was in there. He did speak, but only a little bit. So I think they minimized him. Do you know who else I loved? I loved Blade Knight. Blade Knight was such a cool character. How cool was Blade Knight? I mean, oh my god, he was so badass. And I thought that was the actor. I thought that was the guy that's been cast as Blade. That's how good the voice performance. I think. But it isn't. It isn't him. But god damn it, the person who is voicing him sounds a lot like him. I thought they really similar style of cadence and performance to the tone. I'm going to look that person up as well. But yeah, I sorry if you can hear me typing. I do.
Todd Williams.
Yeah, Todd Williams. I don't know who that is, but clearly a very good voice actor.
No, I'm already looking at the cast list because I wanted to see who was voicing Thor for his half a dozen words that he almost, as he says, but I can't seem to see it. Oh, it's Greg Furman as Thor, who was not Chris Hemsworth, which is understandable. But yeah. It's an enjoyable miniseries, to be honest.
It's definitely different to the comics. Have you read the Marvel Zombie comics?
No.
So they're really good fun. They span off of a million years ago. They span off of a Fantastic Four storyline where the Fantastic Four were exploring the multiverse, and they brought back the zombie plague. And then they kind of had their own. They've had multiple mini-series over the years since then, and they've always kind of just been an excuse to do a gory, violent, Elseworld story about zombies, where it's let's kill some characters, let's be violent and go. And they've not usually gone for these big kind of plot concepts, whereas I think this one was actually pretty cool, and The stuff they did with Thanos, the stuff they did with Scarlet Witch. I don't want to spoil it, like the specifics, because I thought it was original enough that people should check it out. And I think it's one of the better things I've seen from the Marvel on Disney Plus side of things in quite a while. It's the one I was most interested in. I didn't watch Agatha, couldn't care less. Didn't watch Ironheart, couldn't care less. I really totally didn't give a monkeys about either of those. But this one, I was like, I put it on, I was like, this will at least be entertaining in the background. But then I was quickly pulled in when I was like, oh, they're trying to do something a bit different with this. And I really liked it a lot. Really liked it.
I do plan on watching Agatha all along and Ironheart, but I'm fine. Like, none of the Marvel stuff recently has wowed me. This has definitely been the height of it, though, Marvel Zombies. But
I watched the first episode of Ironheart. I actually was like, okay, let's try, and because at least vaguely interested in the concept compared to Agatha, which I just don't care about side character witch stuff that will not matter in any way to the MCU. I was like, Ironheart's enough in the MCU. I was like, I'll give it a go, and I'm like, no, I'm out. That's
Ironheart
just not
will
good.
matter because of Sacha Baron Cohen's character. I don't know how much of the spoilers you've seen.
No, I know. I know all of it. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I was just like, you say it will matter, but also, will it? Like, who knows anymore with Marvel? He still might not come back. So, we just don't know anymore. But yeah, I really liked it. And it was suitably gory and suitably horrific. I think the scene in San Francisco with Shang-Chi, we kind of got an alternative origin to Shang-Chi, which I thought was cool. Yeah. And that stuff was disturbing and violent and quite upsetting at points. Like, it was like the horror came across really well there of like what they were dealing with, and the way it was shot with them running through the city. I thought that was really cool. And then that bit was so confusing when you see all the giant stuff and you're like, but then they do explain why, and it's sort of, oh, okay, because of the Thanos thing, right? Okay, that does sort of make sense. Kind of a bit sort of. And then the ending was not what you expected. So,
I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I don't know how much to say because of spoilers.
Well, just say it was a swerve, wasn't it? It was like,
it goes from one direction into a very different type of direction. So it's going to be interesting. I reckon next year we're going to get Marvel Zombies 2.
Hope so. I'm well up for more of that. I mean, you say that, but unless they're making that already, then we won't, because animation takes a million bloody years.
Yes, but I think it will have been greenlit already, and we just won't have had it announced yet. It'll be announced in January.
I mean, fucking so used to this with TV shows now, though. Every season now takes 3 bloody years before you get the next part. It's exhausting. Like, let's use that to pivot to the next thing I want to talk about in the horror Halloween section, which is Alien Earth, which I've finished completely, the finale and everything. Yeah,
I'm going through it. I am enjoying it. It's a little bit interesting. It definitely makes me question where xenomorphs fit into the whole Alien franchise. As someone who hasn't religiously watched the Alien franchise, it makes me question where this is going to sit in, because the xenomorphs, I thought the first time we met them was in Alien, not beforehand. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where we're going with that one, but sure. Morrow, the antagonist, he's fun. He's very good. I like him. The actor who plays him, I can't remember the name of, is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Love him.
Yeah.
I've read ahead a little bit on spoilers, so I know that there's an episode focused around him being very antagonistic coming, which I'm very much looking forward to.
You said you've watched
all the things.
4 episodes, yeah?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so the 5th episode is back on the ship, and you see what happens on the ship and how it all begins. And that is basically like a really good Alien movie in itself. Like, it's self-contained, just really, there's some really cool moments in that. I think it might be the best episode of the season. Like, it's flipping awesome. What do you think about The Lost Boys? Because it's no spoilers because you get it's in the first episode. Yeah. The central conceit here is that there are these synthetics which have the minds of children that have been transplanted into them who are like had terminal illnesses or things of that nature. So you have these adults with the minds of children and how they kind of face into the situations that are then brought before them through the series. I think it's a crazy, weird, bizarre big swing, and I'm totally there for it. It's really interesting to me. Like, all of that is like very strange and weird, and we've never had that in Alien before. So
I'm more interested in the other storyline plot threads than what's going on with, is this intelligent AI, is it not, synths, whatever. No, I'm more interested in the corporate machinations and the xenomorphs and the variety of xenos that we have in this one.
Well, we only have, right, so a xenomorph technically are the creatures in Alien. The other creatures are not xenomorphs, just to be clear.
I said xenos, not xenomorphs.
Okay.
Xenos representing Alien, which we have varieties of.
I bought Alien
a little bit of Warhammer 40k in there with the Xenos.
I bought Alien is MVP. I love the Oculus creature. That's just
he is
awesome.
Horrifying.
I believe it's a she.
It,
actually.
Whatever. It can just burn.
I love it so much. It's so disturbing.
But after the episode I've just watched, I'm feeling a bit sheepish, I'll tell you that much.
Very good. It's proper. I mean, like, that's what I think they've done really good job with, is that the creatures are very creepy and upsetting. And when you know, the things they do, I think you get some good stuff in episode 5, actually. Really good stuff. It's just, it's probably the nastiest one. You're in for a treat. It's going to be good. But it's so cool. Like, that basically the universe is just full of awful things that are going to try and kill you, and it is, like, amazing. I love that. But what you mentioned about how it frames the universe is really interesting. Like, because the Nostromo found the eggs, right? But it's now not what found the eggs, which makes you then go, well, if Wayland Yutani knew about it, they must have very intentionally sent the Nostromo to that, right? So it's sort of like, it does sort of make you think and reframe some of this stuff, which is pretty cool. You say you're not massively into the universe. Have you seen all the movies or not seen all the movies?
I haven't watched Alien. I haven't watched Aliens. I haven't watched Alien 3, and I don't believe I've watched Alien 4. So, I've watched Prometheus. I've watched the 2 Alien vs. Predator movies, which I did quite enjoy. I can see Ben dying, which is fantastic.
Oh, God.
And yeah, I haven't watched the second Prometheus movie, which I need to get round to at some point. But yeah, I've been aware of the franchise, but I tend not to do horror. It's not really my favourite genre of movie or series to watch.
How weird! You're watching Alien Earth and you haven't seen Alien or Aliens or Alien 3.
Nope.
Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like to watch this without that. That must change your perception of it, like, entirely. That's really interesting. I think I'm going to absolutely lend you I've obviously got Alien and Aliens on 4K Blu-ray, so I will be lending those to you, and you will watch them.
They are classic horror movies, so
they're not. But they're science fiction, right? I always think of them more as science fiction than horror. Like, yes, there's horror in it, but it makes the horror far enough away that I find it less scary because it's the science fiction setting. And Aliens is not horror. Aliens is not horror at all. That is just action movie. That is just fucking awesome action movie.
I probably am, whatever fucking generation I am. I tend to avoid movies from before the 90s.
Oh my God, they're so good though.
Yeah.
Alien and Aliens are just so good, mate. Like,
I know that I've read what happens in them.
You can bin off the rest, but Alien and Aliens are just amazing.
I thoroughly enjoyed Alien vs. Predator.
Shut up. Stop speaking.
I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
Stop it.
So shittily action movie. It was great.
I mean, the first AVP is okay.
Oh, the second one's awful.
The second one is one of the nastiest things you'll ever see on TV, as a film. It's just dark and grim, and some of the stuff that happens in there, like the newborn baby stuff and the children stuff, is so messed up. So it's like, yeah, that's just a bad film. But Alien and Aliens, like, you really, if you like Alien Earth, you will fucking love them. Like, they're just impeccable films, like impeccable. They're both really different. That's the interesting thing. Aliens is an action movie, and Alien is a slasher horror, kind of, if you try and break the genre down. Because obviously it's Ridley Scott and then James Cameron, right? And James Cameron makes really good films as well. So both make really good films.
Well, He mostly makes really good movies. Cough, Avatar sequel, cough.
It was fine. It was fine.
Way of Water was shit.
It was fine.
Sorry.
I watched it in like 3 parts because I couldn't stick with it for too long. But
okay.
it was.
So it's an all right movie that you couldn't sit through more than a third of before turning off.
It's very long.
It's great.
Very long, Rob. It's very
I saw it
long.
in the cinema.
Oh, you
Suck
did?
It up.
Oh my god, you had to sit in the cinema and watch that? Yeah, I'd have been bored. I couldn't have done
that. It was fine. The Fire Nation movie that's coming next at the end of this year looks shit because we've had the air people, we've had the water people, now we have the fire people. The next one's going to be underground with earth people, and then it'll be avatars together. A small bald child will appear with arrows on their skin.
What I was going to say, what I think is interesting is it shares the same name as the Avatar TV show, and now it has become the same thing as the Avatar TV show.
Jokes,
which is so weird.
At the time when The Last Airbender was a thing and Avatar movies start coming out, the jokes that, they're one and the same. Next we're going to have the water people. And lo and behold, 10 years later we get the water people. And it's like, come on, did you plan this? More. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
A little bit off topic. It's fine.
I do want to carry on with Alien Earth. I think it is good. As someone who has not historically watched the franchises, I am enjoying it. But mostly for the character work in this and the modern up-to-date visuals rather than anything else. So
I tell you what, you're going to be like you know like Golden Goose that FX and Disney dream about, the guy or the girl that watches these shows that are connected to nostalgia bait old IP and yet hasn't engaged with the old IP, and yet you're finding your way in that way. You're the dream. You're the dream audience member right there. You're the literally the dollar signs on their eyes. They're like, oh my god, here's the money. Here comes the money. And it's like,
considering it to be vague how I'm watching this, I'm not the dollar signs in their eyes.
Yeah. Well, fair play. We have to consume media in various ways. Okay, so let's keep on the horror theme. Before I talk about a slightly newer one, have you? I mean, you don't do horror, right? And you don't do films before the 90s, so you've not seen Critters.
No.
So Critters was like these like weird little monster movies, very 80s, very B movie, and they kind of span off the popularity of Gremlins. So the idea of these small, malevolent creatures that kind of have a comedic element, but it's quite gory and it's not really horror. It's just a bit nasty. But then the human characters are often quite buffoonery and like this quite silly and then you have slapstick moments around the gore. So that they're a strange thing. So the framing thing with Critters are that they literally look like these furballs and they roll around, but then they're just basically imagine a Tribble from Star Trek. You must have heard of Tribbles if you haven't seen them. But with massive amounts of horrible teeth and glowing red eyes. So they basically roll up and then they eat. All they do is eat. They love to eat and they love to reproduce, and that's their whole thing. So they're meant to be this.
They eat and screw.
Yeah. Well, I think they reproduce asexually as well. Oh, okay. So they just fart out eggs everywhere while just eating and being awful. But basically they roll around, they eat people. They consider this a galactic threat. So some of the main characters in the first 2 Critters movies anyway are these like space bounty hunters that are like hunting them down across the universe. Because in the first movie, the Critters actually escaped from a sort of supermax prison in space. So there's this strange science fiction kind of framing device. But as the movies and the sequels go on, it just becomes lower and lower budget. So it becomes much more just about like people in an apartment block facing against the Critters, which is the 3rd movie, for example. And there are no space bounty hunters in the 3rd one at all. So it's kind of like they're really goofy, they're really fun, they're really kind of gross and nasty and very enjoyable and very much my kind of movie. So I quite like them. And I remember watching them as a kid, and they've always stayed with me. And like they're just really fun. So I watched those, but then I also watched, and that was a rewatch. Of Critters. I've seen them before, but I like you don't necessarily gravitate towards like, especially not pure horror, what I would call pure horror. I watch a lot of horror that uses sort of science fiction or fantasy sort of framing devices, so science fiction setups or like zombies for me, which feel very kind of like they're not scary, they're not horror because they're so hard to like believe could be real. Do you know what I mean? So I don't find them but horror for me is the stuff that has sort of like a fairly strong reality vibe to it, and that's what's scary, where it feels like, you know, this thing could happen in your house. So like home invasion movies and stuff like that, I struggle with them. They can be really scary to me, right? Because you think that could happen, right? So I watched for the first time, I've never watched any of this franchise, very famous franchise, James Wan, and then span off into multiple other properties. So I watched The Conjuring for the first time. So it's really interesting. The framing device in this is it's Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are real demonologists that really exist, who went around and tried to deal with hauntings and possessions and stuff like that in the US and the UK in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And The Conjuring is one of their true story around one of their cases. I'm doing rabbit ears. I don't necessarily like not believe in possession and ghosts and stuff, but obviously this movie is heightened and taken to an extreme for entertainment purposes, however what the true story might have been, but basically it's a haunted house story. You know, bad things happen in this area of this house, and they go there and investigate it, and that's what I found really interesting. It felt very much like a ghost hunting TV show, right? You must have seen them, like a Most Haunted or something, right? But like early days.
So does Dennis Okora come out of the woodwork somewhere and goes, I'm getting a vision? But
basically not Dennis Okora, but that's Lorraine Warren. She's a sensitive type character, and she can pick up on the spirits and stuff around them and things like that. But they set up a lot of the things like the cameras and the audio equipment, much like what you've seen, but in a 70s style. So it's got like a retro vibe to it as well, which is kind of cool. And they're all dressed like they're in the 70s, and it's got a really cool vibe. But they investigate this haunting, bad things happen, they confront the thing, they deal with the evil entity thing, and you know, things end happily, as it were, at the end. There are 4 of these films now, I believe, in the Conjuring main series. I've only watched the first one. I'm going to keep going, especially as the second one is based on one of the most famous hauntings ever in the UK, which is the Enfield haunting, which I've seen documentaries on and things of that nature. So I'm very familiar with that. So I'm quite curious to see how they frame it in the film. So that might be interesting. And then there's a span-off from this was Annabelle, which you may have heard of, and the Nun series as well, which span off from these as well. So quite a big horror franchise. And that's the thing that studios love about horror movies: cheap to make, and if they do well, big returns. So they often do well. You know, if they make 50 million in the box office, it only costs 20 million to make usually a horror movie. So they get quids in, basically.
Literally, the budget for The Conjuring was $20 million, and the box office made $319.5 million.
Not surprising. It's had a really massive franchise. Then that
is what you call return on investment.
Yeah, they love that. Then. Really good performances though. Like it's I'm trying to say Patrick Wilson and what's her name? I can't remember.
Vera Farmiga.
Yeah, both really good in this.
I'm wrecking that surname, so
I know. I could see the word in my head, but I'm glad you tried it and I didn't have to. But no, I think it was really good fun. It wasn't. Was it scary? Yeah, there was some jump scares in there. There's because it's a haunted house movie. There's kind of that creeping dread as things build, and you know the tension is ratcheted up, and you're expecting things to happen when they don't. So you have that you're holding your breath, and then you're waiting for that release, and then a good horror movie will surprise you with when that release comes. But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I can see why people like it. I'm a bit annoyed that I've only gotten to it now, after, you know, probably like 2 decades since it came out. But I'm gonna catch up on the whole thing. Really good. Really, really good.
I think in honour of spooky season, I may rewatch the Scream franchise, as I do quite enjoy the Scream movies.
You see, that's horror, but that's framed around comedy. So you get that it's not as oppressive. How do you feel about zombie stuff? Are you okay with zombie stuff as well?
The most zombie stuff I've seen is the Resident Evil movies. They're a vehicle to have things to kill.
You've not watched the 28 series? 28 Days Later? No, they're really good. They're really, really good.
I know the last one being shot on iPhones kind of made me want to go and vomit in a bucket. So,
you wouldn't know it. It's incredible. Like the new one, 28 Years Later, is fucking brilliant movie. Like one of the best movies of the year. Really, really good. It's really good. It's really, really good, honestly. And you don't need to have watched the previous ones to have watched it. It's good.
I think I'll wait for 28 decades later when they figure out how to use a video camera.
Dude, it's brilliant. What are you talking about? Oh my god. Catty much. Jeez. Meow. Okay. Is that everything on that little series? Yeah, I think that's the Halloween stuff done. So I think we'll call it there on the Halloween segment, and we'll come back with a few more films to chat about, and then we'll wrap this puppet up. So back with some more films in a moment. and we're back to talk about a few more films. And the reason I definitely want to talk about a few more films, and I know there's some stuff in here on my list. I've watched all kinds of random stuff in the last couple of weeks. But one in particular, or two in particular, I want to talk to you about, Rob, because we have the impending cinematic release of a new entry in one of my all-time favourite franchises coming up very soon, which is Tron Ares. So because of Tron Ares... Yeah. I watched Tron and Tron Legacy in the last couple of weeks on their newly released, very, very, very nice remasters, 4K Blu-rays, steelbooks that I picked up.
I'd be curious to watch the 4K Blu-ray of Tron Legacy. I am aware of Tron, the first movie. I never saw it, but I know of it. Tron Legacy is one of my favourite movies, probably top 10 of all time.
Wow.
Between the graphics and the music, I love the OST in that movie. Daft Punk were incredible. I recently did go to the cinema myself, actually, to see a different movie. But I saw the trailer for Tron Ares on the big screen, and between being thrown around in 4DX, which was not what I was expecting, and awful.
Okay, we'll get back to what I want to hear about what you went to see and all of that in a minute. We'll talk Tron and then let's come back to that, because you didn't put that on the notes.
No, I forgot to mention it until now. The film looks amazing. It very much, like we referenced earlier with Encom being an allegory to Microsoft, it looks like that this is being an allegory to over-reliance on AI, which is a very, very good thing, and no one will pay attention.
Well, and you say, and Microsoft, this is AI, was the same thing now, right? So like we talked about earlier. Okay. Right, let me first of all talk about Tron. You need to see Tron.
Yes.
I can't believe you haven't seen Tron. Tron from 1982. It's a landmark piece of filmmaking. It's an incredible production. I literally watched the hour-and-a-half long documentary on the making of it as well, because I hadn't watched that before, and it was fascinating how they made it all. It's not what you'd expect at all. It's almost all practical, right, rather than CGI. It's incredible. Right. It's incredible. But they've done this beautiful work for the 4K on this, where they've done a proper full restoration of the film. It's never looked better. It looks stunning. The blacks look black. The colours are popping wonderfully. It looks amazing in Dolby Vision. And they've given it a full Atmos soundtrack as well, which sounded awesome. But I recommend that a lot just for that, because I love Tron. I do get why you're talking about, like, you know, millennials or whatever gen you are now, and how you don't go back to like pre-90s films. I can see why, when you look at a Tron, that's not the most sort of easy to engage with movie, because it does feel really dated in some of its computer effects, for example. And it is a wonderful transfer. But let's talk about Legacy. Legacy is interesting because it was shot, because it wasn't shot like Tron, right? Tron was shot on film. So film can be made to look amazing in 4K with good restoration, because you've got all that information in the negative. Tron Legacy was shot digitally at 2K, so therefore it's a bit more limiting as to what they can actually do with the 4K upscale of it. They can't do like a 4K master, because it's not possible to master a 4K 2K digital file. It's not how the technology works. But they can upscale it, and they have done that, and it does look nice. However, the best thing about this is how it sounds. Like, again, full Atmos soundtrack, with the Daft Punk soundtrack. I had it up loud. I was shaking the house. It was just fucking incredible to watch. Now, the weird thing for me watching Tron Legacy, it's a really cool movie, but it feels to me more dated than Tron, purely because the visual aesthetic of Tron Legacy is so 2010s. Like, it's so like black and sort of neon on black, whereas the original Tron doesn't really. It was shot on a black soundstage, but it's all been then changed to look blue and purple and stuff like that. So it doesn't feel as dated. But the kind of style of Tron Legacy is so 2010s at times. I felt a bit, by the end of the movie, I was like, I want to see something other than black, because it's a bit exhausting that the film has this very monotone palette that it sort of sticks to for 2 hours. It's cool, but by the end I was like, I'm ready to see the real world again now.
True, but over the course of the movie, the colours get brighter and brighter over the course of the movie, and you start off in the darkness of the Outlands and in the arena with the light cycles, and then you meet Flynn. You move through, who's all in white. You then get on the cargo, is all white. The climax at the end with Flynn stopping Clue from getting through the beacon is an explosion of blues and cyans and whites. And then you come into the colour of the real world. It is literally getting brighter the more of that film you watch. You're leaving the darkness and coming into the light as you progress through that movie.
Yeah, to a degree. Though there are still some big sets pieces, like the aerial dogfight is, again, black sea, black cliffs, and a few highlights on the plains.
Oh, the oranges.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, it looks great, but it's just a very oppressive, and it's intentionally oppressive, right? That's what they're trying to convey, which is Clue's perfection of that grid is through oppression and control, and that's how he's achieved perfection, or what he's trying to achieve perfection. One thing that was interesting is I was looking at the de-aging very closely, and I don't know, if you consider it for what it's meant to be, right, which is a fake representation of something. So when it's Clue opposite Flynn, it actually kind of works because you're seeing the real against the digital, right? When it's sort of like, when it's just Jeff Bridges with his young kid, right, at the very beginning of the movie, you're like, no, that's just weird. So it doesn't work outside of the grid, but when you're in the grid, it doesn't bother you as much, I don't think, because you can go, well, this is artificial, right? So it's all good. So, and that scene at the beginning of the movie is so brief, it didn't bother me that much. I actually think it's quite impressive considering how it was a very, very early version of that. So I think they do. It
was a nice way for them to do it without recasting him, because you can't recast Flynn.
No, well, you can't. Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, sorry.
Jeff Bridges. He's a fucking...
Bridges.
And look, Jeff Bridges' performance in Tron Legacy is brilliant. Like, he does this whole kind of, like, shtick about being the Zen master, and he's, like, tried to fight Clue by not fighting, and it's all very interesting, and it makes so much sense for his character, especially as I watched both the movies almost back to back within about a week of each other. What's also interesting to me is Legacy's storyline, especially in that final act, is basically a complete copy of the final act of the original Tron, which is weird because they literally get at the end of the original Tron, they have to get to an IO tower, an upload point, right? Which is exactly what they've got to do at the end of Legacy, and they get there on this solar sail cargo ship, which is exactly what they do at the end of Legacy, and it's like, why did they do exactly the same? That's strange, because a lot of the rest of the movie is quite different, and then they do the same thing in the third act. I was like, okay, no, it doesn't feel like a nod. It feels like we have no other choice. They've got to get out, so this is all we can do. So it was curious that they went that way. I can't wait. I'm really excited to see what Ares does, because the thing we have to remember is the original Tron, the original grid is in Encom. The grid in Legacy is one Flynn has set up in his basement, right? So that's a different place. So Ares could completely ignore that Flynn grid and base it purely off of the original Encom grid, so that they don't have to deal with the fact that Garrett Hedlund and Olivia Wilde weren't available. I don't think Jeff Bridges is in the film either in Ares.
Yes, he is.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's good to hear. Oh,
He's in trailers.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he in a trailer? Oh, I haven't maybe seen all the trailers, then maybe there's a new trailer. That's cool. I'm glad he is. But I think they will ignore the Tron Legacy grid and just do it will come from the original Tron grid. I think that's my theory. And I can't wait to see recognizers and light cycles in the real world. I think that's going to be insanely badass. So bring it on. I'm very excited, and I've got my tickets booked for 6 days from now. Yeah, next Saturday. So I'll be off to go and see that opening weekend. Yeah. Can't wait. So tell me about what you went to. What did you guys see?
I went to see a film called Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle. It is the anime Demon Slayer, which worldwide acclaim, and I saw their first of trilogy of movies capping off their series, basically. Instead of doing multiple seasons, because they knew it would take so much longer to animate, they've condensed the last acts of the manga into films instead. And Infinity Castle is fucking phenomenal. The the way they use music, the colours, the vibrancy, everything. It was an absolutely incredible movie ruined by 3 letters. 4, D and X. It was a nightmare.
Had you never done it before? Had you not looked at what 4DX was? Did you not know?
It was like 4K, and it was just a super fancy special screen, and I was not expecting a roller coaster in my movie. I was furious.
Twat!
So yeah,
that's hilarious. You didn't know what 4DX was. Oh, dude. Yeah. So when it started shaking and then spitting water in your face and blowing wind and all that shit.
The wind was actually quite nice because it was quite warm in the cinema. The screen was booked out. It's the busiest I've seen a cinema in years.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
There were no spare seats.
Oh, that's funny though. Why on earth did you do that? That's so funny.
Infinity Castle is now the most popular anime movie in Japan. Full stop. It has earned, I think, now over $500 million. I think. Let me try and find.
So while you do that, I know of Demon Slayer. I think I've watched the first episode of something on Netflix. I thought it was really good of that kind of anime. I'm not a big anime person, but I know it's super popular and it looks gorgeous. Yep. So I bet as a cinematic experience, it's probably just next level for that. Yeah, it sounds amazing.
It had a biggest opening weekend for an anime film in the US and Canada with a confirmed 70.6 million opening weekend.
That's really good.
It has a total of over $600 million globally as of late September 2025. It is an absolute juggernaut of a movie, and in 2 years we have it again, and 2 years after that. So yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. I rewatched the seasons and so on up to me going to the cinema for this. My partner was at a gig. I went down as well, and I went and saw a movie while she and her friend went to see Lewis Capaldi, I believe it was. We both had a great time doing respective stuff. But yeah, Demon Slayer was absolutely amazing.
Just to be clear, I haven't watched the anime, but I'd still rather go and see a film of Demon Slayer than Lewis Capaldi. Just to put that out there. Just so you know, I'll back your choice on that one, bro.
I genuinely think you should watch more Demon Slayer. Like the Entertainment District arc, for example, is just fantastic. The growth we've seen from characters like this name will mean nothing to you, but Zenitsu from when he's introduced in season 1 is a whiny little asshole, and the growth you see that has changed across the arcs and how he is in Infinity Castle is just beautiful to see. So yes. Oh, is that little Flynn? In a little?
No, it's a little Tron. Flynn? It's a little Tron.
A little Tron.
Yeah. Pop vinyl Tron.
Yeah. I highly recommend you should continue with Demon Slayer because they're doing a live action Netflix now because it's so successful, which I'm not looking forward to, but it's so worth watching. It is possibly the best anime that's ever been made. Somebody needs
to tell me about why live action, what's the difference between a live action anime that works and doesn't work, right? Because Cowboy Bebop looked like it should be great and got 1 season and got cancelled because nobody liked it. One Piece looked like it should be fucking terrible and yet has been a huge success and has now had 2 seasons and there's more. So I'm like, what? I don't understand that because I don't understand the source, I guess, because I just don't engage with a lot of anime. Though I am very excited. There's a steelbook release on Blu-ray coming out of Edge Runners, which I've already got pre-ordered. I'm really looking forward to owning that physically because I loved Edge Runners. So it's not like it's not like I'm against animation. I like animation, right, as a medium. I just don't engage with most sort of anime kind of storytelling. There's a lot of bullshit artifice to the way that they kind of speak and deliver lines sometimes, and then there's that kind of really goofy humor that seems to get forced into a lot of anime, which I just don't engage with. I don't find like that fits, but it's very much of that type of medium, right? I appreciate that's how the manga are, so that's how the anime is. So why does one like Cowboy Bebop looked incredible fail? One Piece looked like garbage succeed? Don't get it.
I think it's the faithfulness to the original. If they try and do something funky with it, it doesn't work. If it's a faithful recreation and it was just basically a redo in live action, then I think that's where it works. I've not watched either Cowboy Bebop or One Piece, so I can't comment for certain. The Demon Slayer live action will live and die on them being faithful to it and basically doing a live action recreation. That's the only way I would be interested in it, because I want, like, I've got the anime. Like, you've got to do it right, or I just won't care.
Well, what I don't understand is that I kind of don't get fandoms and adaptations and why they obsess about it's only good if it's slavishly accurate. Because to me, you've still got the original thing. Just watch that. I think an adaptation should bring something new to the table. It should do something different. It should try to evolve the story or do something with the characters or give a different perspective. I don't understand why it has to be the only good version is if it's a copy. Because just go and watch or play or engage or read the original thing then. Like, so why can't it do something? Like the Halo TV show, for example, people freaked out because it was different and the Master Chief was unmasked and he had a sexual relationship with a character that wasn't Cortana. Well, you don't want that. Just go play the game. Like, I don't get it. Like, why are you pissed about that?
The problem is the Halo game franchise has gradually declined in quality and is now shit.
Well,
takes from Rob.
Some poor choices definitely, were made, yeah.
So,
but I really liked the TV show because it was brave and it was different and it was cool. And then we did get to, the ring in season 2 and then they cancelled it. So it was like, brilliant.
The biggest problem there with Halo is the fact that it took 2 seasons to get to a Halo.
Yeah, that was,
come on,
choices were made. But anyway, yeah. So when I hear things like that, like I remember that when I was managing Comic Book Shop a million years ago, and Transformers live action was coming out, people were super unhappy about how the Transformers looked. They don't look like they do in the comic or in the animation, and I'm like, yeah, because it's a movie and there's a different creator involved that's doing it the way he wants to do it. That's valid, isn't it? Like, I didn't understand that. Like, I don't get it.
An aesthetic of how a character is presented, like if we use Optimus Prime as an example, like the aesthetic of how Optimus Prime is presented is all well and good. I point to my Lego one. Is all well and good, but it's how the character is. Are their key lines correct? Is their message correct? In the Demon Slayer live action, is Tanjiro going to the main character? Is Tanjiro Kamado gonna be Tanjiro, or is he going to be a weird Hollywood kind of Studio Force version of him that doesn't really act how the proper Tanjiro does, but does kind of halfway there because we need to get him through the story?
You keep using words like correct and proper. I mean, correct and proper is whatever the creator of that project decides it is, not what you decide it is because of how it was.
If it's correct
I say you. No, the audience has still got that original thing. So just engage with the original thing then.
Okay.
Doesn't make it correct or proper.
The Witcher TV series.
Yeah.
Cavill was essentially forced out by a lack of faithfulness to storyline.
Yeah.
So he left, and everybody is hating on Liam Hemsworth's stuff already. That's already been cancelled. The Liam Hemsworth season we're getting is the last season.
Yeah, they cancelled it before.
Of the negative reception.
No, but they cancelled it before he was even committed to going in. Like, that was I think they basically went, we're going to do this for the last season. Henry was like, well, fuck that, then I'm out. And then Liam Hemsworth was coming. But it looked, I mean, I saw the trailer for it. It looked fine. Like, I don't particularly like the Witcher TV show, but I don't, even with Henry Cavill in it, it was boring, but...
An audience decides if it's correct and proper. An audience decides whether the director and screenwriter's view is correct.
No. An audience decides if they like it. It's not their place to say if it's correct, because they're not creating it. They have to accept that this art has been made, right? And been made with a vision of the creator. That's their correct vision based on what they want to do. Then the audience will decide if they like it. It's not about it being correct or proper. It's about if they like it or if they think it's any good. That's all the power an audience has. You have to respect the creator in the creative process.
Respect the creative process, yes, but an audience will turn around and go, your vision's wrong, and walk away.
Yeah, but they don't get to decide that. Because everybody has their own vision. No, they don't. They get to go, I don't like that. I don't like your vision. I don't like it. But they don't get to go, they can't say, that's wrong. Because it's not wrong, because it's an artistic endeavour. And art is the creator's purview, right? It is not the viewer's purview or the reader's purview or the player's purview. They can only decide if they want to engage with it or not. Interesting conversation. Yeah, very different perspectives. And I guess and it's thing for me as someone that's been a critic for many years in and out, is sometimes what I get tired of is that hating on the creator, right? I find it's so easy to do that, and to really give a lot of shit to a writer, an author, a screenplay, an actor, any of those people. But then, could you get up there and do that? Could you write that? Could you adapt that? 14 book series into a single 2-hour movie or video game. I think one great example is the Warcraft movie. Could you turn all of that heady bullshit lore that's spread out over 15 bloody games into one 2-hour movie? I don't think you could. Now, you decided that what has been done, you don't like that. You don't think it's right. Fine. Disengage. Walk away. Have your thing that still exists. But then there's so much hate gets dropped on these creators that I just find that is just reprehensible. And one thing everybody has, right? Everybody has an opinion, and everybody is an arsehole. And it's just chill the fuck out. Respect what they're doing. You couldn't do it. 99.99999% of people could not do that. So,
expressing an opinion, positive or negative, on a piece of art or creation is absolutely fine. Vilifying the director or screenwriter or scriptwriter or whoever for doing the thing is wrong. Saying, I don't like this interpretation, 2 stars, is different to going, well, you're a piece of shit, you this up, etc., etc. They're very different reactions. I think the world needs to get back to the former reaction and going, this isn't for me, goodbye. Yeah. Rather than, I'm going to attack you because you got it wrong. That's not the right way.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's why the word correct or proper is something why I was challenging that, because we can't decide that. I really don't think we can decide that. We can do what you just said, and I do, right? 2 stars, 1 star, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, do all the time. But I would never say that's wrong. It's just I don't like it. Do you know what I mean? It's that's all I can do is say I don't like it, and hopefully give reasons, hopefully explain why I don't like it. But I'd try to not be having a go at people. And the hardest thing to do is adaptations, right? Where you're taking it from one medium into another. That you almost can't win. You're always going to piss off some people, and that is really tough to do. Whereas you create something fresh and new, then you've not got that benchmark, right? You've not got that thing you're being measured against. So it's a lot easier in a way. It's still hard, but I wouldn't want to adapt something. That's tough.
Bringing a live action Demon Slayer, as I'm a huge fan of Demon Slayer, but bringing a live action one I think is a mistake. We have a beautiful animation. Leave it there. Don't just milk the cow for profit. Just leave it there.
Yeah. Do you know what's really talking about stuff like that? Like those Disney live action adaptations. That's it's really interesting, isn't it? Because they're doing what you said they should be done, right? They are an exact copy of the animation, shot by shot, line by line almost, right? Half the time, but just done in a modern visual style, live action though, full of CGI, obviously. And obviously the last one I saw was How to Train Your Dragon. That's the last one I engaged with, and it just lacked all the charm of that cartoon. All of it was just pulled out.
That's an interesting point. The problem with those live actions and Disney ones is that their trademarks were running out. On Lion King, they needed to redo trademark, so they needed a product, so they remade Lion King.
Yeah, and
that's what they did.
And it's also speaks to a bit like what you were talking about generationally about how you won't go back and watch a movie pre-90s. A lot of the young kids now aren't going to want to go back and watch an old animated film, but they'd much rather watch a live action full of CGI, animated film instead, because they'd rather engage with that because it's more towards their sensibilities that they've grown up around, right? So it's about making money out of a new generation as well and finding a new audience, like you with Alien Earth, a brand new alien audience. Yeah. There you go. So, but it's very cynical, isn't it? It's very, very, very cynical. Anyway, that's a good. Didn't think we were going to get into that. That was fun. Enjoyed that. That was surprisingly deep conversation around criticism of entertainment properties. I think then I won't touch on some of the other films I've got here. I can always save them for another day. I just mentioned I did check out another, because I seem to always review the A24 movies on this podcast, and I watched The Materialists with Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal. That was not the film I expected it to be. That was quite odd. And I should have guessed that from an A24 movie. It wasn't going to be a obvious rom-com. It was quite surprising in the third act. I thought it was good. If you're in the mood to sit down something with your other half, and especially as it looks quite like rom-com-y, right? I don't know if your other half's into that or not, but and then it's sort of actually like not the direction you thought it would go in, without spoiling it. It was pretty cool.
Okay.
And I also watched Deep Impact, which I picked up the 4K Blu-ray of, which is a very nice transfer and is the best comet hitting the Earth story, I think, and film of that era. Much better than Armageddon. Much better. I don't know if you agree with that.
Fall under. There are three of them that fall under the same umbrella for me: Deep Impact, Armageddon, and The Core, which all are.
Well, The Core's got nothing to do with
disaster movies.
No, Deep Impact's not shitty. Deep Impact is actually the most, I think, maturely written, kind of character-based exploration of those themes, whereas Armageddon is much more about bombast and action heroes, and The Core is just brilliantly ridiculous. I also do love The Core, but Deep Impact feels like the most serious of that genre. Like it's all about, you know, these disparate stories and how these people face impending end of the world and the choices they make and the impact it has on their lives. And actually, it's quite sad. Actually, at the end, it's quite, you know, you don't normally feel, even when the characters die in films like that, you don't normally feel sadness, do you? You kind of like, it's an expected loss, right, in a disaster movie. Whereas in this, I think there is a genuine emotion behind some of the character choices in that film, and I really respect that. Like, it was, especially as, you know, and also Morgan Freeman as the president. Oh my god. Who would not want that? There's a bit in that film where he does a TED talk. So he goes to them and goes, right, this is happening, but now I'm going to explain it all to you. And it's like, no president would do that, but would I listen to a Morgan Freeman TED talk? Fuck yeah, I would. Like, I'd listen to him read the phone book. He's incredible. I
probably wouldn't listen to him read the phone book, in fairness, but yeah.
Aaron A. Aronson. I can't do a Morgan Freeman. No, nobody can do a Morgan Freeman. Only Morgan Freeman can do a Morgan Freeman. But no, it's a fucking awesome movie. So like, and that's kind of connected to the last podcast, because I've been doing lots of disaster movies. So I've just been through. I think I've watched 8 of them in the last month or something. So I've been in that genre hard. So yeah, it's good fun times. But yeah, so I think that brings us to the end. So we'll be back shortly with our little outro. Rob, it has been lovely having you back on this episode and not having to do a podcast solo like I did a couple of weeks ago. It's been absolute joy.
It's been wonderful being back. It's always good to complain bitterly about the state of gaming. I mean, talk positively about everything going on.
I particularly enjoyed that heated sort of conversation we had there around film criticism and adaptations. I think it's an interesting one to talk about because, you know, we've obviously got some different perspectives, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
I feel I need to watch more adaptations of things that I, at the moment, haven't watched that are liked and hated to gain more of an understanding. The Disney ones as an analog, and How to Train Your Dragon would probably be a good one. I love the How to Train Your Dragon original movie, so seeing the live action I think is going to be daunting as a shot-for-shot remake, but the Disney ones I prefer the animation, so I'd be really curious
to see what you think about How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, because I'm not a big fan of Disney style animations, but I did really enjoy that How to Train Your Dragon movie. Like you, I really enjoyed that. So when I watched that live action, I was just like, I don't get it. Why does this exist? So yeah, I mean, that would be, very curious. But I think, like I said, I think it's an age thing. It's a generational thing.
I don't know. I can hear one of our friends swinging an axe to our heads with the pointlessness of that movie existing.
We know it's her possibly her all-time favorite movie is what I've heard she said. So I just it's devoid of all creativity. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
At she'll hit you first with the axe and not me. Right. On that delightful note.
Yes, I'm going to remind people again, 8deadgiants.com with all of our links. You can find it on there for our social channels. It's a little link tree page, very orange. I put it together. I like orange. And I hope you enjoy that. Very bright. It'll light up your room when you go to that browser, when you go to that webpage. It is. We're obviously, give us a comment on YouTube or leave us a review on anywhere a podcast can be found. We're literally on every podcast platform under the sun. And give us a subscribe as well. And that would be really helpful. Not enough of you are subscribing. Not enough of you are leaving reviews. So that is your task. Once you've finished listening to this, is do it. Literally, you could just write 5 stars. Thank you, Sexy Ben. Or 5 stars, Rob is an Adonis. If you put that in, I will send you a personalised thank you note. Okay? So please do that.
I will ensure to review all thank you notes he sends to make sure that they are not offensive or questionable in any way.
It'd be a nice thank you note.
Peace of mind.
It'd be a nice thank you note. Come on, I'm nice. It'll be very personal and sweet and lovely.
Yeah, the personal bit's the what I'm scared of. Right, anyway.
So we should be back, I would say next week, but look, we'll see what happens. Could be a couple of weeks. Rob, can you come back next week?
I don't know at the moment.
Have a look for me. Well, I'm just curious because I know our other regular giant is booked up until freaking November, Matt. So he's a busy boy. He's off on holiday for a couple of weeks, I believe. He's told me that's his excuse, and I'm sure he's sticking to it. So I might have to steal you again if you are free. Otherwise, it will be a solo job. What I want to talk about next week will be Tron Ares. So if you are back next week, we do record again on Sunday. I'd have watched it, and I can do a spoiler-free. We can do a spoiler-free chat about Tron Ares if you like.
Do spoiler-free.
I've gotten a lot better. I try so hard. I try so hard. I used to give no shits.
It's taken years of abuse to get you to improve, but you know.
I used to be a menace. I was a menace with spoilers. I know that. So that would be one thing to talk about at least. And hopefully by then, Microsoft will reverse the charge going up on Ultimate. We'll see. Rob doesn't think so.
I don't think so.
He's going to double down. Actually, it's going to be another $10. Enjoy it. Another $30. Mortgage your house. That's Phil Spencer just cackling away with Satya Nadal and his AI buddies. So until then, we're off to make friends with the impending Singularity Overlords. So have a good time. Bye, everyone.
I'm off to have lunch. Bye.
Lunch sounds good. I want you. Bye.